Premonition? Prophetic? Well, regardless of what it was, it's pretty strange that Drew Brees would invoke the name of Y.A. Tittle before the game and then go out and do what Tittle did in an NFL game. And what an NFL game it was in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome this past Sunday. The New Orleans Saints outslugging the New York Giants 52-49. A remarkable football game. The total yards reflecting what kind of game it was. Drew Brees, 511 yards, 7 touchdowns. Eli Manning, 6 touchdowns. He didn't have an interception in the game. Hardly any passes hit the ground in this game. And an unbelievable performance by both offensive football teams. Defense, well, I don't know. I guess maybe we kind of leave that alone. When you talk about the historical perspective, so many records in this game were set or tied. First of all, speaking of records, here they are. Drew Brees, 7 touchdown passes. That ties an NFL record. Brees with his 10th career game of 5 touchdown passes. The two teams combined, that's an NFL record. 13 touchdown passes. And then the Saints records, Drew Brees, 40 completions, 511 passing yards, 7 touchdown passes. Marcus Colston, his 28th career 100-yard receiving game. That ties him with Joe Horn for the all-time record in franchise history. Woo, it's dizzying to look at the numbers. I've done a lot of arena football games over the past several years. I thought one broke out. I tweeted that a flag football game was going on in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Brian, it almost had that feel because these defenses were basically helpless.
It was like 7-on-7 passing drills. And you know, the honest thing about this is that Brees left yards and touchdowns on the field. If you remember early in the game, the first he overthrows Brandon Cooks, would have been a 60, 70-yard. But it was just incredible, and it got more so as the game went on, Kenny. Yeah, offenses were outstanding, but boy, I'll tell you what, the defenses were pathetic on both sides of the football.
I thought Cooks misjudged that ball a little bit.
Yeah,
frankly.
it was a catchable ball.
I thought it was a pretty catchable ball.
I
thought he misjudged it, although certainly it was so wide open you could have laid it a little bit shorter. That said, it was a catchable ball. And then the Brees interception, he could have run for 10, 15 yards
he
easy,
sure could have, yeah.
but elected to throw it. But you're really nitpicking there considering the way the guy played.
Right.
Ricky, as a defensive player, it had to be hard for you to watch the way this game unfolded. I mean, this was just an adding machine game.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I think the coaches feel very disappointed. I mean, even though the Saints won the game, no coach don't want to see his team go out and lay an egg like the defense did yesterday. But, you know, you got to win because the offenses played such a great football and the special team helped them out. But you don't feel like you contribute a lot to the game. You had no big turnovers, you had no sacks, you had, you know what I mean, you had 1 sack, but you didn't play football the way Saints play football. And, I mean, that got to be disappointing.
Well, when you look at the other historical perspective nature of this game, you have to think about how many points were scored, because when two teams combine to score 100 points in a game, that's special. It's only happened 4 times in the history of the NFL, and one of them was the AFL, where nobody played defense. It didn't matter. And then in 1966, of course, in 2004 most recently, and now the Saints and the Giants. So highly entertaining for the fans. One aspect of interest, Brian, I thought this was a poorly officiated game. I thought there was some really ticky-tack calls. Sean Payton did everything he could to avoid ripping the officials afterwards. He came close to it. He was baited. I know he was very unhappy with the defensive holding call on Delvin Breaux that wiped out a turnover. That would have put the game away. There were a couple of calls on Brandon Browner that were, I thought, really bad calls. And then, of course, on the punt return by Murphy, they tried their hardest to screw that up, and they couldn't figure out how to mark the thing once they did screw it up.
Well, I agree totally with you. It probably was a very difficult game to call because of just, it was so offensive oriented. But yeah, they definitely made some bad calls, but you know, that's the kind of game where, Kenny, you don't want to be on the losing end of that. I mean, when you look at the Giants came back 3 times from 14 down to take a lead on a defensive play and then to allow 10 points to be scored in 36 seconds, you know what, it's a great win for the Saints. They need it desperately. But I'll tell you what, Tom Coughlin, I was in the press conference when he was asked the question, did you consider punting the ball out of bounds with so few seconds left on the clock? And he said, well, sure, you think about it, but that's a difficult thing to do. Easier said than done. And I'm thinking, Well, wait a minute now. Don't they pay these punters millions of dollars to do just that? Come on. Tom, it might be time to think about stepping off that sideline, because that I tell you what, you can put that loss right on Coughlin's back, in my opinion.
He did it against the Eagles nearly a decade ago, the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, this is on the coach.
Because
agree. Ricky, the other part of that is, I understand playing to win, and I advocate that too. But with such little time left deep in your own territory, the Giants calling timeout with the ball and then throwing an incomplete pass to stop the clock, which gave the Saints 20 seconds to try to do something. The Giants should have played for overtime in that situation.
Yeah, they should have played for overtime. You had no business. I mean, even the incomplete passes and stuff. I mean, you run the ball. You make the Saints do whatever they need to do.
That pass could have been intercepted.
Right. Right.
Sure,
I mean, it went through two guys' hands. So it was bad play clock management at the end. And I didn't understand that. You work all week. Coach supposed, he's a Super Bowl coach. So, I mean, I just couldn't understand the way he coached down the end in that game.
Well, you punt the ball to Marcus Murphy. That's sin number one. And then number two, of course, when your punter's trying to make a tackle, kickers can't tackle, he grabs the face mask and he practically yanks it off. And that's what gives Kai Forbath the chance. His career high field goal is 50 yards. This was a 50-yarder. This was the edge of his limit to be able to kick it. He never could have tried it without the penalty or without the return that set this up. So to me, all things considered, and we're happy the Saints won, and they deserve to win based upon their comeback, but this is on Tom Coughlin. It's that simple. He blew the game, and considering the way the New York media is, I've got to believe they're holding him accountable as of today. Well, when you think about other numbers from this game, there's another incredible number to consider when you look at this number. Look at how the Saints have dominated the New York Giants the last 4 times they've played them. The Saints have averaged 44 points a game, 543 yards a game, including right at 400 yards passing per game. Ricky, I would say that's having a team's number, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would say LT not coming back through those doors. That's what I would say. Him and Aaron Carlson and Carl Banks, they're not coming back through those doors for the Giants.
As this game developed, there's no doubt in my mind neither defense played well. I'm not suggesting that at all. But of the two, the Saints defense at least put consistent pressure on Eli, and they broke up plays, and they were guarding people. There were unguarded receivers. Marcus Colston could have run from here to Baton Rouge and not been touched by anybody. No, that's a horrible display by the Giants defense.
All right, let me give you these numbers. I think this is pretty significant right now. And everyone's entitled to his or her opinion, and Lord knows none of us are right by and large. Opinions are just that, they're opinions. But here are some numbers to ponder right now as you've reached the halfway mark of the NFL season. Benjamin Watson, 38 catches, 472 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jimmy Graham, 38 catches, 450 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then you've got Max Unger, and then you've got Stephon Anthony. Does anyone want to question that trade now? I surely don't. It was a good trade, Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good trade, but you got to realize, Ken, that Graham's still one of the best tight ends in the business.
No one said he wasn't. That's not the issue. It's a good trade.
And the young, well, I mean, you can still a good trade, but do you put Watson over Graham? No, I don't.
Has nothing to do with putting him over Graham. It's about productivity in the offense. Drew Brees can make anybody look good. And that's not taking anything away from Benjamin Watson. He's done a great job, and he's short-term in terms of productivity. We know that. The point is, how badly have they really missed Jimmy Graham? Max Unger is a centerpiece of this offense. Stephon Anthony could be the centerpiece of your defense for years to come, and your tight end position is still productive. What am I missing here?
No, I agree with you, and I understand where he's coming from. So that's kind of waffling, but really, I agree. The thing that I agree totally with is that Drew Brees can make a player into a good receiver. Ben Watson, if you look at his career numbers, they're not like that, okay? Now, he's a good tight end. He's a better tight end in this system with Drew throwing to him. Jimmy Graham, he didn't have a say in this trade at all. No. But I got to believe that he's going, man, I wish I was back in New Orleans.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
I got to believe that. I got to believe that.
It's the offense that he's in. Look, he's a great player. There's no denying that. That was never the point. They were 7-9 with him. They weren't going to be any better with him. Without him, they have a chance to be better because the future now is secure at center and an inside linebacker. And your tight end position is still pretty productive. Imagine that. Your quarterback has everything to do with it. You want to still boo Drew Brees? Are you kidding me? Give me a break. Well, we are, as always, blessed to be brought to you by a good and great presenter in Toyota of New Orleans. The Toyota President Awards recipient is Toyota of New Orleans, located at 11801 East I-10 Service Road in New Orleans East. At Toyota of New Orleans, you'll get a reliable and stylish new or used car at a price you can afford with Premier's expansive inventory of new and used cars. Toyota of New Orleans is here to help you find your dream car, and there are many beautiful cars waiting for you to take home. We'll talk NFL and some interesting results when we return in a moment on sportsNOLA TV.